So apparently, parenting isn't just about keeping tiny humans alive. Who knew? Today, we are talking about progressive parenting, and this episode is for those parents, moms, friends, sisters who are completely honest and open with their children in a way that they can understand the best, okay? We are breaking generational patterns, letting kids have opinions to a point, and still managing to keep our sanity. Speaking of sanity, we will also be discussing the wild world of co-parenting. The good, the bad, and the gossip. Okay? And not to mention, we have some write-ins from everybody that wrote in on my Instagram. Thank you so much for contributing. I've been wanting to share these stories for so long, and so I'm just really excited to kind of touch on this episode and how I parent in my household, and whether or not you guys agree, learn something new, or maybe even have something more to contribute. I'm excited. I cannot wait. So let's fucking go.
Girl.
Are you still talking? Girl, stop talking. Happy fucking Monday, bitches. Ooh! I have been loving this setup, my bedroom setup behind me. I am recording this on Saturday night, just a couple days before Monday. So you see the glitz, you see the glam. I realized halfway through today that I am a free woman tonight. I can't even remember the free nights of no man, no kid come a lot less than they used to. And I'm sure you guys who follow me online, you see me doing a lot of things. And I definitely still have my independence as a mom, which I'm so grateful for, because I feel like it's been a long fucking time coming. But I really don't get these free moments where it's just me, I'm just solo, and I don't have to feel guilt-free about not having my son around. You parents know, if you know, you fucking know. I'm gonna speak in my terms to us moms, because this is a mainly feminine women podcast, even though I know the guys and the gays are in here. But that's how I'm gonna speak. I'm gonna speak mom to mom this episode, so you can take this advice, these experiences in any which way, okay? And us moms, we know that the mom guilt is strong, right? And I always say, I'm if you don't feel the mom guilt, if you don't have the guilt come in, you're not doing it right. Then you're probably not a good mom. If you don't feel guilty for being a mother, you are not a mother. You are not a mommy. You are not a mamacita. No, just kidding. So I am just grateful for tonight that I get to, first of all, do this podcast, because I've been wanting to talk about these experiences for so long, and it kind of all ties together with not having a lot of free time to just be a mom anymore. And I'll be the first to admit, I am selfish with my time, okay? I decided to have one baby because, first of all, I was 18 when I had him, and I was like, your girl's not going to be a single mom of two. That is just not happening. But I made sure that wasn't going to be my life, because I wanted to live a life. Before I had my son, I wanted to live a life. I had goals. I had plans for myself, and they didn't carry out in the way that I had expected them to. But in hindsight, they probably carried out so much better than I would have thought, because I don't think I would be in this place where I am in my life now, having a successful business, being able to work when I want, make my own schedule, have enough money to take my kid on trips and, go on vacations myself, hire help, and have a life still being, in my 20s and continuing on through my 30s. It all worked out the way it was supposed to be, so I'm so grateful for it. But I enjoy being a selfish bitch with my time because listen, and this is just a little story about me, okay? I didn't get my single 20 years. I didn't get that. I was right out of high school, right into motherhood. So I sacrificed my individuality, my solo time, my selfishness to raise my child. And now that we're over the 10-year mark, my son's 11, I'm finally getting some of that free time back. He's becoming more independent. He is an only child of a single mom. So, if you know, you know. I raised him in a way to be self-sufficient, to be independent, to help out because like it's just me and him, okay? And I totally forgot where I was going with that, but that was like a good rant there for a minute. I wanted to start off by talking about like what progressive parenting means to me, and here we go, we'll wrap it up full circle. It was so important to me when I was raising my son to really be just like honest about everything. If he asks the questions, I'm going to answer them in the best way that I can, that are factual, that are scientific, that don't create shame around our bodies or our experiences. Like, I know for myself, my mom was really good at being honest and answering questions like to her best ability when I would ask them. And I've talked about some of those things on the podcast before. And I know when looking at my son, it was really important for me to raise a boy that was understood like his feelings. I think the other side of that, what I had dealt with for a long time, like with his dad, was him not being able to express his feelings. It was just like anger and walking on eggshells. And I knew that like no matter what, whether or not his dad was in his life, like at some point in time, Deegan's gonna have to learn how to deal with those things, maybe with other people, maybe with friends, maybe with his own relationships, or like a teacher, whatever. Like we all come in to life and have to deal with other people. And I think things have gotten so much better with like men and their emotions and mental health and this, that, and the other. But for me, it was really important for me to create an environment where he felt comfortable and safe talking about his emotions, like asking me questions. If he hears like his friends saying or talking about something at school that's like inappropriate, but he doesn't understand why, and like they're just like making jokes and whatever, like he could come to me and we can talk and he wouldn't feel like he was going to get in trouble or he was doing anything wrong. Like those things were super important for me. And simultaneously, like I'm just an open book, like I didn't start this podcast fucking 10 years ago. I wish I would have. But I started it like 4 years ago, so he was probably around 6 or 7, and that was like right around the age where he was noticing, like different body parts, and well, that happened a lot sooner, but these questions started coming up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna answer them. Like, don't ask questions you don't want the answer to, because you are gonna get it from me. And I think some people are like afraid of that because they don't want to talk about sex too early. They don't want kids to be like hyper fixated on sex and bodies and parts and whatever. But I am such a believer and I have such a strong belief in the fact that like if you don't make it weird, it won't be weird. If you talk about it, it's normal. If you call it a penis and a vagina, there's no shame attached to it. There's no like we have to hide these things because they're private and like you can't speak like that. We have always had these like very open conversations around body parts, the difference between them, and just, a lot of it is like body parts and sex focus, the stories that I'm gonna like tell you about. And I'm not sitting here being like, oh, I'm just having sex and like letting them know, but kids are curious. And I remember being a kid and like being in situations with my friends, even in elementary school. Like, I vividly remember this memory of this kid that I had a crush on. His name was Brian. That's so funny that I remember that. I don't remember his last name, but I had a crush on him. He lived in my apartment complex. His name was Brian. And I remember he used to ask if I would spit or swallow. And I was in like fourth or fifth grade. And he would ask, and I think he was a year older than me, so fifth or sixth. He would ask if I like to spit or swallow. And I didn't understand what it meant. And I remember like I was like drinking something and he asked like, "Oh, do you spit or swallow?" And I was just like, so I just like spit it out, and then like him and his friends would laugh and whatever, but like nobody would tell me what that meant. And like I don't remember if I like brought all those things to my mom, but I've had a handful of experiences that are like that, where I'm like, I remember how I felt in those moments. Like as a kid, you feel like left out, you feel dumb, like you want to fit in, you want to like be in the know and like pretend like you know what's going on, even though you may have no idea. And I remember feeling like uncomfortable and like almost embarrassed for not like knowing or having the answer. And so I wanted to be able to like pass those things on. It doesn't matter what you say or do. Kids are going to know, especially now with social media, with technology. They are learning things so much faster than we used to. It's insane, okay? My son was in like third grade when kids started talking about like sex and humping and like what sex is. And I just feel grateful that like we've already had factual conversations about stuff like that. So that was like a long-winded answer, but I really want to get into some of my favorite stories that I have, or conversations, stories that I'm going to share with you that I've had with my son around uncomfortable questions. Before we get into my stories, I almost forgot. I asked you guys, what does progressive parenting mean to you? And I just wanted to read off some of the answers. Blended families and being open-minded, not being in prison on tax evasion charges and trying to lie and hide it all from me. Whoa. That's wild. Listening to their feelings and emotions and guiding with boundaries. I love that. I love that. And to add to that, I think like it's so hard when kids get older, because it's like, in this household, I like to have fun. We like to have a good time. We talk, we laugh, we make jokes. We're very sarcastic. Like there will be times that I'll like cuss at Deegan in a way where I'm like, "Oh, go change your underwear, like you have swamp ass," or like, what, it's like, what the hell, what the helly, like we say things like that all the time. And I think sometimes that can get confused, where it's like, what is the borderline between parent and friendship? And that's like one of the things that I struggle with my man's kids, because they are so much older. They're like teenagers, young adults, and I feel like it's an interesting dynamic, because I want to be their friend and be there for them and be like a guiding light with good information, but they cross the boundaries so quickly, not necessarily with me anymore, but with their dad. And it's like really hard to gauge that line, because you see something happening and you want to like stick up and be like, "Hey, you're being disrespectful." But then they look at me like, "Well, you're not my mom. You can't tell me what to do." And it's like, okay, we've all been there. Get a new fucking line. You know what I mean? Come up with something better. Okay, let's get back to this. As well as flexibility and adaptability. The reason why I chose to homeschool. Oh, interesting. Okay, so like progressive parenting, like being flexible and like adapting to the environment, homeschooling, like learning from different situations. That's an interesting take. I never even would have thought of that. Guiding my babies with natural consequences, trying to teach them empathy and understanding. Being a friend and a parent is okay. Saving punishments for serious stuff. Knowing like what should be punished and what should be a conversation, I think is a great thing. I think we can get away with a lot by having honest conversations and knowing that like even if your child does something to upset you, you still love them. You're still going to be there for them. You're always going to show up. I think that's really difficult with parenting, and like I commend my dad so much to an extent, because I definitely deserved consequences when I was living with him as a teenager. But I remember, and maybe like after reading that, I think I'm just realizing now, like, oh, this was his way of progressive parenting. I remember him telling me, like, he's like, I had to make a choice on how to parent you. Like, it was either come down on you like the law and we don't have a relationship, or I can try to have conversations with you and pray that, you're always going to be safe or get caught, and and we could still be open and honest and have conversations together. And he's like, that's the road I chose. Now, the line that I was going down as a teenager, I needed consequences. I was like, oh, I'm not going to get in trouble with my dad. I walked all over that man, and we laugh about it now. I don't know how hard he's laughing, but I definitely think the conversations are funny. And I remember I was getting in trouble so much all before I was 18 years old. And like getting pulled over by the police, getting minor in consumptions, being out past curfew, getting curfew charges, this, that, and the other. And there was a couple times I had already gotten in trouble. And my dad told me, he's like, I had to go to court, I had to go do community service, like all these things. And he looked at me and he's like, if you get in trouble again, I am not coming to save you. And I remember it was Cinco de Mayo. Dara, if you're listening to this, you already know. We went to like some concert or something, and I can't remember. I remember everybody's faces. It was like me. Was it Carly Rose? I can't remember. Me name dropping her first and last name. I don't even think it was Carly. Lexi, Greg, Dara, Curly, and then I think there was like one other person. And I remember we we were getting ready to go to some party. I was supposed to be home at 3 a.m. Was it 3? No, I was supposed to be home at like 1. I think it was 3 a.m. I didn't go home. We were on our way to a party. We go into a Circle K, and we all like are getting snacks and food or whatever. We leave, we purchase our stuff, we get back in the car. Greg comes out with like 4 bottles in his hand. This is like when they sold liquor in the gas stations, which I don't think they do that anymore. Probably for this reason, because of degenerates like our friends. Greg comes out with like 4 bottles, and he has like an eighth of weed in his pocket, and he basically stole the liquor. None of us were 21. We get in the car and we're like driving out of the Circle K, going down the street, immediately, whoop, whoop, get pulled over. There was like 7 of us in a 5-seater car. We were packed in like sardines. And like I said, like weed wasn't legal then. We were all underage. The 2 boys, I think, were like 17 and 18. And I remember Dara, I'm so sorry. Girl, I'm calling you out. Dara hid Greg's weed in her coochie, and not like up in there, but like in her pants. And we all got pulled over. And I think I have a picture of this somewhere. If I can find the picture, I'll post us here. I took a picture of us sitting on the curb, like getting in trouble. The cops, I don't think I was drinking then. I don't even think we had been drinking yet. But the cops curfewed us. I think the guys ended up getting arrested and going to jail. And I remember the cops walking past Dara the whole time being like, you smell like weed. You smell like weed. They never searched her. Thank God. Her sister comes to pick her up. The cop's like, we need to call your dad. This is my whole point of the story. He's like, we need to call your dad. And I looked at the cop dead in the face, and I was like, my dad told me if I got in trouble again, he's not coming to get me. You can just take me. And I knew in that moment, I'm like, I'm going to jail. I'm spending the night in jail. I'm going to juvie. And I was like, okay with it. Like, so much so that I was like, everyone was crying on the curb. And I'm like, you guys, come on. This is your first time getting in trouble. I really got to find that picture. And I took a picture of all of us. We were just like, thumbs up. Posted it on Facebook. That's a whole other story in itself. And the cop was like, let's just call your dad and see. Call up my dad. He answers the phone. I was like, yeah, hey, your daughter is out past curfew. We got her here, blah, blah, blah. You need to come get her. dead ass comes to pick me up. And that was the moment where I was like, I can get away with anything. He should have let my ass rot. Okay, that was a total side note. I have 2 more that I want to say that you guys wrote in for progressive parenting. A sex positive household. Yes, girl, that's what we are here. Open and honest communication on both ends, kids and parent. I love, live, laugh, love those things. So now we'll get into some of these super ridiculous stories that I would like to share with you guys about experiences that I have had hands-on with my son, creating the sex positive environment and open and honest communication. The first time I had to endure this progressive moment was in the movie theater bathroom after a movie with my son. And I think he was 3, and this is really when he started learning parts of his body and what they meant and how they were different. He comes with me in the stall because he's still so little, and I'm peeing, hovering over the seat, peeing, and he goes, sorry, I have the hiccups now. He looks at me and he goes, Mom, why are you peeing out of your butt? And this is like right when the movie ended. There's everybody in the bathrooms. You hear giggles from the stall. And I'm like, I remember thinking like, this is a great learning moment and how funny. I'm like, I'm like, Deegan, I'm not peeing out of my butt. I'm peeing out of my vagina. And he's like, well, I don't have a vagina. And he's like, no, you're peeing out of your butt. And I'm like, no, girls have vaginas. Boys have penises. This is a vagina. I'm peeing out of my vagina. He's like, nuh-uh, Mom, you're peeing out of your butt. And I just, he didn't take it serious, but that was that moment, the first moment where I was like, oh my God, here we go. This is like how it's going to be. And we've had several moments since then, all the way from peeing out of my butt to how babies are born, how babies are made. And more recently, we even had a conversation about STIs and STDs. My son is 11. I know that sounds crazy, but let me walk you through them. So then the next serious conversation was when he was 5 and we were on our way to school. Some of our best conversations happen in car rides. We used to have to commute 20 minutes to get to school every day. So it was like a 40-minute, total. And I remember he pulled a tampon out of my purse and he was like, what's this? And I'm like, well, that's a tampon. What's a tampon? Another great teaching moment. I'm like, a tampon is something that girls use when they're on their period. He's like, what's a period? And I'm like, a period? Now listen, he was 5. So my biggest, what I wanted to do, like my biggest concern was being able to share the information in a way that he would understand for his age level, okay? And not be factual, but not have to go super deep because my son's brain also moves very quickly. So we could be having a conversation like this and then it's like, squirrel, and something else happens. So he's like, well, what's a period? And I'm like, well, women get a period every month when they don't have a baby. So if they don't have a baby, I forget exactly how I described it, but I was like, they end up getting their period. And what happens is because they didn't have a baby, their uterus, like inside of them, sheds and they bleed out of their vagina. And all of a sudden got so graphic. We're in the car and my son is looking out of the window and he goes, well, thank God boys don't have to do that. And then we laughed, I laughed, and that was the end of that conversation. There had been some follow-up conversations though, like when I went to the store just to get a box of tampons and ended up starting my period and I'm in the bathroom and I'm like, Deegan, can you help me? And he's like, what? I'm like, can you hand me a tampon on the counter? And he's like brought the tampon in and like slid it through the door and he's like, I hope everything's okay in there. And it's like those moments that I think are so funny, but honestly, like he's going to know about these things. I am setting him up for his future and his success, with being around women and maybe being in, relationships. He'll understand more. And I feel grateful about that. With these conversations, since he was little, we have had talks separately about body parts. And I've always stated, like, these are private conversations between me and you. And if you have questions, I will answer them. But we do not talk about these things with our friends. We do not share them at school. If other kids are talking about it and you're involved, like, just know that if a teacher or someone else hears you, you could get in trouble. Like, you will never be in trouble with me, but these are private conversations. And that's been reiterated through the course of his life. And next came the baby conversation. I'm going to need a drink for this one. This one was broken down into like 3 or 4 separate conversations over the course of like a year, where he like genuinely started asking more detailed questions, like trying to figure it out. I can't remember exactly how old he was, but I remember he was asking, like, well, how are babies made? And I said, well, it's most simplest form. The man has a sperm and the woman has an egg. The sperm swims to the egg and that makes a baby. And that was enough for a long time. Until he came to me and he was like, but Mom, I don't understand. How does the sperm get to the egg? And in this moment, I'm just like, there were a couple times I dodged this because I was like, am I really about to sit here and say that, like, the penis goes into the vagina and that's how it happened? Like, I wasn't fully mentally prepared to be like, okay, so we're doing this now. Like, we're really doing this. I think he was like 7 or 8. No, he was probably 8, maybe 9. So I ended up dodging it. I can't remember exactly how. Dodged it for a while, which was great. That was great. It was so good. And then I so vividly remember the moment that I said those words. We were actually right here. I was laying in bed and he was sitting over here by this light. And he's like, asked me again, no, but Mom, like, I just want you to tell me. Can you just tell me, like, how does the sperm get to the egg? And I'm like, okay, are you sure you want to know? And he's like, yeah, just tell me. I'm like, well, I think I said it like that. I'm like, the sperm comes out of the penis and into the vagina, and then it swims to the egg and it makes the baby. And he goes, jaw hits the floor. You mean they're humping? It was like, I don't even know where he learned that. He shakes his head and he like walks away and walks out of the room like in complete disbelief. Like, he's done with this situation. I don't know. Some of these moments are so funny, and I just feel so grateful that like he feels comfortable enough to talk to me about these things. Because I mentioned the STD and STI thing, I do want to touch base on that really quick. I recently just got an opportunity to work with Live Love Life, which is a nonprofit HIV and gender affirming care testing clinic in Florida. Chance and I are going to be doing the content for their socials, which is really, really awesome because it supports such a positive, great cause. Like, we're talking about healthcare, we're talking about STIs, STDs, we're getting information out there to the LGBTQIA plus community. Killed that. And it's something that I'm already doing with the podcast. It's sexual health and wellness. And so I did a whole content batch day where I was doing all these reels soon to come. You can follow them on TikTok and Instagram. I'll link that in the show notes so you guys know. And Deegan was asking me, like, well, what is the content that you're doing? And I'm like, well, I have to explain to you for you to understand the videos. And he's like, okay. And I was like, I'm doing content for an STD and STI clinic that tests for a clinic that tests for STDs and STIs. And I was like, do you know what that is? And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, another teaching moment. An STD is a sexually transmitted disease. An STI is a sexually transmitted infection. And these are things that you can get from having unprotected sex with people. And they can affect your life and emotional well-being. And a lot of them are livable. You can live a normal life and it doesn't matter. You can take medication. And some of them used to kill people. And now there is medication that you can take and become like untransmittable. And he looks at me and he's like, okay, I feel uncomfortable. I'm gonna go. And I was like, okay, well, you had to know. You asked. I'm like, don't ask questions you don't want the answers to. I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you. So these are just some of the ways, especially around sex, if you guys like needed help navigating or needed some advice on like how to do these things. In my opinion, the best thing is just to be honest and try to come from a factual place in a way where it's like, this is what it is. They're either going to find out from you or they're going to find out from their friends, and it's going to be misinformed from their friends, because we know damn well in this culture in the United States, there isn't any conversation around sex. And that's what I love about like having these platforms, is you really get to have it. And I think it's so important to be open, be honest with your kids, because if they don't hear it from you, they're gonna hear it from their friends, they're gonna hear it on the internet. It doesn't matter, but I think as parents, like, we would rather be able to create the open space for our children so that they can come to us when things do get crazy and not feel ashamed and not feel guilty or weird about talking about it. So I would encourage anyone listening to be a little more open-minded and honest about the conversations around sex, because if you make them normal, they will be normal. Imagine that. Do you ever just open your mouth and your parents come out? Like, there are so many times where I'll be parenting and I open my mouth and the words that come out of my mouth are my mother. And I'm like, what? That was crazy. So I wanted to go over some classic millennial childhood rules and habits from the early 2000s. The parent version. Classic things that our parents would say to us that some of these things I don't do, and I'll give you the reasons why. The first, one of the most classic one-liners, because I said so, that's why. Oh my God. Mom, can I get this toy? No. Why? Because I said so. And it's just like, there's no open communication around, there's no explanation, there's no discussion, it's the end of story. Like, and I get it, don't get me wrong, I fucking get it. As a parent, you get so overstimulated, overwhelmed. Some parents have 4 kids being like, can I have this? Can we do that? Blah, 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 blah. Why not? Why not? And it's like, I don't need to explain myself, whatever. Just stop fucking talking to me, you know? But this is something I don't think I have in my vocabulary. I don't say because I said so. I usually explain why. I'm like, no, we can't do that right now because there's not enough time. Or we're not eating out because we have food at home. Which is another one. That's another one. Wait, let me see where it's at. There's food at home. Mom, can we stop and eat? Can we get this? Can we get that? No, we have food at home. Which is so true. And like, I understand that so much more now. First of all, shit is expensive and we don't know that as kids. But I mean, that is a classic one that will be staying in my vocabulary, especially with the goals that I have right now. Like, we can't fucking eat out all the time. Like, it's just not gonna happen. The other one, go outside and play. Don't come back until the street lights are on. Classic. I say this one. It's hot as fuck in Arizona summer. That never fazed us as kids. We were out there sweating, playing manhunt around the neighborhood and all. You know what I mean? But I say this so much. Go play with your friends. Go play. Get off the screen. Now that's what it is. It's like, it's not even like, go play outside, get out of the house, we don't want you here. Like, I think it has transformed to being like, get off the screen and go do something with your body, which is honestly, dare I say, so much better. Okay. This is a classic. My mom used this one all the time. She doesn't listen to this, but shout out, Mom. I'm sending this to you. If you don't answer the phone when I call, you're in trouble. I love her so much, but she was crazy. You best believe I always picked up the phone. Otherwise, she will call the cops on me. She's called the cops on me. I know it. She's threatened it. Maybe she hasn't, but she has threatened it. If you don't answer the phone when I call, you're in trouble. I have a childhood friend, Emma. Her parents were scary. Shout out to them. You always picked up the phone. But you know what? I have this conversation with my man a lot. He has teenagers that he's dealing with. They never pick up the phone. You know what is so funny? And like, hopefully they're not listening to this, but I will say we have cameras in the house, and he will get like notifications when people are like walking around. The other night, he sees his son and his daughter walking around with their phone in their hand, pinging, notifying the cameras are going off. He calls them. They don't pick up the phone. He's like, what the fuck? I just saw you with your phone. Pick up your damn phone. I don't understand it. If I would always pick up the phone because I knew otherwise I would hear it, and I didn't want to hear it. And I tell my man all the time, I'm like, I tell him, I'm like, you make me feel like I would be a crazy parent, because if Deegan didn't pick up the phone, I would call the police. And then I opened my mouth and my mom just came out. Thanks, Mom. Thank you. Shout out. Okay, another one. This wasn't something that I had to deal with, but my friend, Emma, that I had mentioned, she had to deal with this a lot. You're not leaving the house dressed like that. Oh, she used to give us clothes. We lived like a wall there. We lived in a complex where it's like she lived here, we lived here, there was a wall. And she used to leave clothes at our house so that we could bring them to school for her and leave them in her locker, because her parents would literally check her backpack because they didn't want her wearing certain shorts or whatever. And I'm thinking like, how did she even get those? And then I'm like, oh wait, no, we had jeans and we cut them into like booty shorts. I don't even know how we would get away wearing them at school. Your girl here, always dress coded. Like nothing else. Dress coded, dress coded, dress coded. Let me see this other one here. Oh, I use this one. Tell me. Let me know in the comments how many moms use this one. If you're bored, I can find something for you to do. My mom also used that one. And it's always a chore. And I get it now. I fucking get it now. I remember being like, I am bored. Okay. And your parent would like list off all these things that you can do. And then you're like, no. I do that same shit. I'm like, oh, if you're bored, okay, well, you can clean the bathroom. You can put your laundry in the washer. You can dry and fold your clothes. You can take the trashes out. Have you fed Leo? You can pour out the water and re-clean and put all this together. Or then I'll go down the wrath of being like, you can craft. There's a Lego set. You can do this. And it's like, no. All that's boring. Or I just thought of another one, a classic, like, I don't know what to eat. We have nothing in the fridge. And then your parent goes into the fridge and they list off like 600 things that you can eat. And you're just like, no, that doesn't sound good. I am doing that. I'm doing that with my son. And it's like getting him to eat is like insane. I'm like, you can't just eat. I can't just cook something for you and you eat it. You're just going to try and live off of mac and cheese and ramen. Like, I'm worried about you. Now, I know this is the moment you've all been waiting for. As much as I would love to come on to this very public platform and spew the details of my co-parenting relationship, I'm just going to hit you with the facts, okay? I have thought a lot about talking about stuff like this, and I want to be able to be so honest in a way that is, still holding the best interest of my son, because for me, My biggest concern has to do with my child. It does not have to do with the emotions and the feelings that I have about his father. Because I do be having feelings. Not romantic ones. Anyways, as much as I would love to come on here and just give you the dirty details and the drama, I don't think that would be like a healthy thing in the long run of my son's future. And instead, I'm just going to hit you with the honest facts. We're going to share your guys' co-parenting experiences and maybe some stories if they pop up. The things that I'm going to share, my son already knows, and he's come to have his own opinions living in the circumstances that he's lived in and seeing the relationships from both sides. And that's a story for him to tell, not for me. And my story, what is just so factual and honest, and I think most of you know if you follow me online, like you've seen me be open about it before. I was a very, very single mom. I like to call her an independent mom for the first 3 years of my son's life. So what I will say is the co-parenting relationship that I have right now is nothing. That's so fucked. It's not for a lack of trying. There at some point with some people, there is no communication. There is no way to navigate the situation that's going to be positive. It's not from, like I said, from a lack of trying from my end. It's so hard because it's like I obviously want to share more of like an honest like stories and situations that have happened, but again, like I just don't think it would be fair for my son like later on the road down the road to hear, I don't want him to ever feel like I'm like talking shit about his dad. I don't have to. Period, So, but I do want to give credit where credit's due. I think being in the relationship that me and his dad had was never healthy, and that's why I left. And the co-parenting, again, was little to none. It's not something that I even really have to deal with at the moment. But I know for myself that I'm not going to stop showing up in the way that I show up in all my relationships. That's honest. That's being able to communicate. Sometimes it's hitting you with the facts. Sometimes it's hard boundaries. I'm a firm believer in if someone is upset with your boundaries, that's who's benefiting from them the most. So I have led with that a lot when it has come to the co-parenting relationship. I will not be talked down to. I will not be cussed at. I will not be yelled at. Like there will be no conversation if that's how it's going to be. And I'm not saying that that's how it is all the time. I'm just saying like emotions get high and people react off of emotions. And I just know for myself that like no matter what happens in those relationships, I can stand true and know that I'm standing on business and doing what's best for my child. Period. So let's move on. Let's move the fuck on. Okay, let's read about some of your guys' co-parenting drama because we all have it. We love it. And although it can be fun and petty, at the end of the day, it's all going to affect your children. So if I could give any advice before I read these off, it would be to do not talk about situations in front of your kid, no matter how frustrated you are. Having private conversations about the other parent should be private because, let me put my phone down for a second. I'll tell you something right now. This was my biggest concern for myself. I never wanted to be the parent that sat and talked shit about my son's other parent. I had a parent that did that. And I remember everything that parent talked so poorly about the other parent. The other parent never showed up the way the one parent was talking poorly about them. And so as a kid, when I was a kid, I wasn't living the same experience that my parents were living. And so when I heard the one speak negative to me or situations about the other, I always had the other person's back because they didn't show up for me in the way that they were showing up for them. They were always showing up. And it created a lot of tension and a lot of drama in my own parenting relationship, child to parent relationship when I was a kid. And for myself, I made it clear, made a promise to myself from the very beginning that I wouldn't be that parent. No matter what, no matter how frustrated I was, no matter how pissed off, I was not going to lead by speaking negatively about the other parent at all. Listen, we all have slip-ups, we're human, but I'm not the one. Because I don't want to create friction and tension. Like, I want my child to be able to have his own opinion and to be able to look at the circumstances and understand without having clouded judgment. I asked you guys, what is the hardest thing about co-parenting? And these were the responses. My baby daddy, LOL. Girl. Not being there for my kids all the time and knowing the dumb shit that their dad does. That is the hardest part. Seriously, like when they come back with stories about situations that have happened and you feel like the mistreatment or not, like they're not showing up in the same way that you would show up, that's really, really hard. But I'm going to be so for real. Like when I have time away from my kid, I'm like, wow! Girl, I'm not a mom. I'm not a mommy. What? No. Okay. Bitter baby daddy can't talk without wanting to argue, talks poorly to me about my son. Girl, everything that I just said, you just stay true, bite your lip, hold your teeth, because I know your son is still young, but it will not take much longer before your son understands. Daddy does one thing, mommy does the other. Mommy doesn't do the thing that daddy does. Just bite your tongue because they fucking know. They know. They grow up and they know. Having my kids separated, like having different dads and kids going to different homes. I get that. The lack of accountability. Girl. If you're not watching this, you can't see the eye roll. You really should be watching these because, like, you get the fullest expressions. You get all the things over here. The lack of accountability, girl. Oh, God. I just got goosebumps. The classic Disneyland dad. Oh, I can't even say that. I don't even get I'm the Disneyland dad. I'm the mom and the Disneyland dad. Yeah. Well, again, they grow up, they see it, they understand. Hang in there, sister. Dipshit behavior. Yeah. That's like the one thing that I will say is, never mind. I can't say it. He tends to overshare to our kids who are 12 and 9 on our grown-up differences. Oh, God, this shit is so hard. There's literally nothing you can do about it. The only thing that you can do is reinforce better behavior on your end and be like, you know what, that was inappropriate for your dad to share. And if you have any questions, you want to have an open conversation about it, you can always talk to me. It's not really co-parenting. I'm parenting 98% of the time. Girl. No, it's not co-parenting. It's just parenting. Her dad is such a half-assed dad. It feels like it's all on me to raise her most of the time. And you know what? It probably is. And she's going to grow up and know that her mom was always there for her. And there's nothing better, you know? I think at the end of the day, like, our kids are going to be able to figure it out, and they're going to see it, and they're going to make their own opinions, and that's for the other parent to have to deal with, and there's nothing else that we can do until then. Being the default parent no matter what. I can't tell you how many times I have forced I have forced holding commitments where it's like, you agreed to this, you have to do it, this is what we're doing, and then I get like the backlash of, oh, it's all what Tatum wants, this is what she's in charge, she's the boss, and it's like, no, like, we literally have legal documents where, like, you agreed and signed and dated and stamped by the court of law, but okay. Let's see. When they can't separate their anger towards me and what is best for the kids. I hate this so much. Where, you know, it's like, it's not actually about your child, you're making it about the mom, or you're making it about the dad. Think about, like, what that does to your kid. Are you kidding? Like, how uncomfortable your child must be in the household to be like, oh my God, like, they think this of me when they're really reacting because they're upset with the other parent living their life or whatever. I can't. When he doesn't let his ego aside to co-parent. We're just going to go to the next one. Not being able to be there for every holiday or moment. When you have 50-50 and you have a good co-parenting relationship, I 100% believe that. There was a moment in time where I refused to not see my son on Christmas. Because when they're little, it's so fun and it's like all these beautiful memories. And at the end of the day, it caused more drama to have to split up Christmas Day. But I get that. It's like, you want to be there. You want to have those experiences. And when you're 50-50, you unfortunately have to pick and choose. However, you also have more free time. Remember? Looping that back to the selfishness, just saying. When it's my week off and it's her week off, she doesn't want to help with activities. When it's my week and it's her week off, she doesn't want to help with activities or if I need help with the kids. God, that's annoying too. And I get that. I love that a man wrote in because a lot of these are women writing in about their kids' dads. I love that there's a man writing in about their kid's mom because unfortunately this is also happening with women. I think, like, showing up for your kids is showing up for your kids. Like, if it's not your week and they have sports, you don't want to be there for their game? I mean, I get, like, things happen or you have events or things scheduled, but it's still a contribution. So I think that can tie into, like, a lot of miscommunication and people feeling like people should be doing more. Like, I had a thought come into my head when I was thinking about that. Like, there have been times where I, as the mom, would refuse certain things because I'm like, this is your time. But again, like, that was because the time was being forced. So I don't know what the situation is. I don't even know if that made sense. This mom says he's addicted to drugs. So, sorry, I'm not laughing because it's not funny. I'm laughing because it's like, co-parenting would be difficult with a drug addict, 1,000%. There's nothing you can do about that. Different parenting styles, planning trips around someone else, and missing your kiddo. I'm here with you. I stand with you, girls. The co-parenting and having relationships or your kid's dad or mom having a significant other and having to deal with them. Oh, man. Thinking about it is just exhausting. Thank God. We have come to the end of the episode. I could literally go on and talk about these co-parenting relationships. I definitely would love to have a deeper conversation about how to navigate them, how to set boundaries, and continuing to show up in your truth. But I wanted this episode to be fun, and I wanted you guys to have a little giggle. I wanted you to hear my stories. So hopefully I did just that. Leo made himself really comfy, huh? Yeah. Happy Monday. Go share this with a friend. Grab someone's phone and make them subscribe to the YouTube. Like, help a sister out. I'm going to be sharing content all week surrounding these topics. So if you see anything that you relate to, please share it. DM it to a friend. Give a comment. Like, we're growing, girl. We're growing. I say this every time, but it's happening. I'm going to be something. This podcast is going to be something. And you guys are at the ground level. You're watching the growth and the success and how it happens. And it's so exciting. We have so much going on. 2 weeks until we're in Nashville at the Stimulate event, where we are going to be at a sexual health and wellness event. Chance and I, we're going to be live podcasting, hosting a pink carpet, one of my first hosting gigs. And when I come back, there's going to be more on my coaching, lifestyle training, coaching, one-on-one coaching program. So I'm excited for that. Please, do me a solid, for real. If you listen to this episode, make one friend subscribe to the YouTube. I want to see my 208 subscribers go up by 50. I want to get to 260. Subscribe one of your friends. You don't even have to ask them. Steal their phone. Just subscribe. Let's get it going, okay? Okay. I hope you guys have a good fucking Monday.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I gotta go, girl.